Okay, I believe we are now recording. So this project, I'm just going to call it MERN Auth, because that is what it's going to entail. So move into your project folder, move into your group folder, move into the projects, then in here I'm going to create the MERN Auth project. So in the MERN Auth project, I will set up the client and the server. Now for the server, it is just manually creating the folder, the server, then that's where everything to do the server is going to go. Then for the client, I'm going to take advantage of Vite to set it up. So with Vite, we'll open the documentation. So let me bring that over here. And my mouse is really off today. Don't understand what's going on. So this is vite.dev. So you'll find the command right here, npm create vite at latest. We'll copy that, paste it. So right now I'm in MERN Auth. I have not navigated into the client folder. I don't have a client folder. I only have the server folder. So if I'm creating see what the mouse is doing. If I'm creating the Vite client using the React client using Vite, I'm going to specify that I want it to be created inside the client folder. So with that, it is going to create now alongside the server folder. It is going to create the client folder, and we want React. For now we want JavaScript. We don't want to install with npm and start now. No. So since I've selected no, I'm still within the MERN Auth root project, root folder. So I'll move into the client. Then here we're supposed to run these two commands. Now if I had selected yes when asked this, then it would have done that. It would have navigated into the client folder, it would have installed, and it would have executed npm run dev. So for the client setup, I'll run npm I to install. So this might take a second or two. A minute or two, depending on your speed, internet speed. So the idea is I'm also going to set up routing, just following the documentation for the client, for the sake of so I know Brian and Nadi, you already did this, but for the sake of the others, I'll also be setting up the routing just so that they can have a place to reference whenever they need to do so. Right, so npm install is done. I'll open this on a new terminal tab and run it. So that's npm run dev. I'm sure by now you're familiar with my aliases. nrd is an alias for npm run dev, but ideally that's what you'd want to execute, npm run dev, so that it can load the we've changed the design. I was a bit confused there for a second. It looks nice. So this is now the default the default page that you get with the Vite setup. So I'm going to immediately set up Tailwind. just by going to tailwindcss.com, go to get started, and this is using Vite. So I've already set up the client using Vite. So this is the command I'm going to execute. So back to the terminal, I'll leave this running. Then over here, I'm inside the client, I'm going to execute the command. So npm install tailwind css and add tailwind css / vite. Then I'll open the client on VS Code, zoom in, turn off agentic programming. So for most of the things that I do, I'm going to do them manually. Maybe just some things that are not absolutely necessary to do manually will I do, like filling up content if there's content to be filled. So in here we go to the Vite config, we import the tailwind css, so Vite config.js. So we bring in tailwind css. That's from at tailwind css / vite. Then we add the import directive in the main css file, which in our case is the index.css. So I'm going to remove everything here and just add the import for tailwind css. Then I'll remove the app.css because we don't need it. Then removing the app.css means I need to remove its import from this file. Otherwise, it will not exist and it will give us problems with the imports. Then with that, we should have Tailwind set up. So I'm going to test it by just removing everything here, adding a paragraph. Hello. Excuse me. Class name is text. Let's do green 600. Can remove the state. Can remove all of this. Actually, the use state as well. Then we go to our browser and we should have hello. So it's right at the top there and it is green. So that means Tailwind is working. So it's fine. I'll zoom out. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to be setting up because this is not a Tailwind like session. By now you should have worked enough with Tailwind. You should be comfortable with it. So what I'm going to do, there's a version of this that we had created that had the register form. So it has the login page and the register page. Those are the ones I'm going to copy. So I have the components here, the button, the footer, header, login form, register form. So there's the register form here, login form, there's the header, and there's the footer. Now they're all built with Tailwind. So I know that if I just copy them over, they're going to work. So I'm going to copy this entire components folder from the version that we had already created, bring it into the source so that we can have those forms in the header and the footer. Then I'm going to create the pages. Actually, I'm just going to copy them. So pages, bring it over here as well. So you have login page, you have register page. Right now they have the header and the footer duplicated on there and the register form. Now this is not the best way to go about it. because ideally it's the same header and the same footer. The only thing that changes is just the login form. So just to test things out, I'm going to bring in the register page, which is not being okay, now it is. So once I bring in the register page, my expectation is that I'm going to see it. So there's an issue with the import assets images. Okay, so I'll just copy those over, the assets as they are, bring them, I'll delete the existing ones, then bring those over. It should fix that issue with the import. Oh, there's something wrong. Oh yeah, we had like custom classes for this. So I'll just copy everything that's in the index.css and then bring it over here. So this is all just styling. There's no functionality. So again, the focus of this is not on styling, it is on functionality. So what I'm doing is setting up this to have the forms for registration and for login, because the idea is to get these functional. So right now, the only way that I'm able to see this register form is because I am loading the register page. This page, I'm loading it in the app.jsx. Now that's not the best way to go about your application, because what happens if I now need to load the login, and currently the route just navigates to login.html. That's not the case. It's supposed to lead somebody to /login, and instead of the register page, the register form, it's supposed to show the login form. So that is where React Router comes in. So React Router, the best thing to do is just follow the documentation. So we'll go to reactrouter.com, go to docs, and in the documentation, there's the framework mode, there's the data mode, and there's the declarative. Now we're not going to use React Router as a framework. We're not going to use it in data mode. We're going to use it in its simplest form, the declarative. So we're going to go to right here. So there's the declarative mode, and then there's installation. We can see the command to set up Vite, but we're not going to be doing that because we already have a Vite project running. So we just need to add React Router to it. So this is where we start, by installing React Router. So I'll copy that, go to the terminal, paste it. Let's paste it twice. Okay, so that's npm I React Router. Again, you need to be in client for this, because this is something that we're going to be setting up. This is routing on the client side. So npm install React Router. Okay, so once that is added, we'll just do exactly what the documentation tells us. So we need to render the browser router around our application, and we can see this file. This file, it is the one that creates the root and it renders the app. Now we know, based on when we started React, we inspected the entire application, so we know this is the main.jsx file. So we're going to go to the main.jsx file. I think I can close this other one. We have everything we need from here. So we'll go to the main.jsx file, and where we have the app, we're going to render the browser router around it. So I'll just do what's in the documentation, get the browser router, wrap it around our application, and that needs to be inside the strict mode. So get browser router from React router and wrap it around there, wrap it around the app, just like that. That is the first step. Now the next thing is we go to routing, and to configure routes, we then update what we have wrapped inside the browser router to contain our routes component. And then for each route that we have, we add a route component. So this is the order. This is not going to change anytime soon. The browser router is the outermost component, right? Wrapping everything. Then inside it, we have the routes. Then inside the routes, we have the individual route declarations. So if you want to have this, the route path, and to have this as the element that shows up when somebody navigates to the route path, then this is how you set it up. So we're going to add the routes over here. So we'll remove this app. Add routes, and that will also be imported from React router. Then we'll have our first route there. And you can see that it's a self-closing tag. So our first route is just going to be the home page. Now, for now, we need 3 different routes. We need the home page. Actually, we need the dashboard. We need the login. We need the register. Now, we're going to add the index page just for when somebody lands on our application. So this requires a path. You need to pass a prop of path, and the path is just going to be the home route. And for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the index page over here. This index page is it's a component, and a component is just a function. It's a function that returns JSX. So it will just say homepage for now. Then we need to export it. So this index page is the one that's going to be loaded by this route path. So we pass the element right here as index page, just like that. And what's going to happen is that now when we go to the root path, we see home page, because that is all that is loaded by that index page component that we've just added as a page. So we're going to do the exact same thing now for the other 3 routes: the login, the register, and the dashboard. So I'll just duplicate this login, register, dashboard, and I'll start with register. This is going to then load the register page, not the register form, but the register page. Then we go to login. This is going to load the login page. It's not being identified. We go back now. Then we have the dashboard, and this is going to load. Let me duplicate the index page. rename it to dashboard page. So in the other version of this application, I didn't have the dashboard, but you should have had the dashboard, the one that has the list of users. So right now you can see we actually do not need the app because it's not being loaded anywhere. But we're going to see its use, how it can how it will come to be used. So homepage, or rather the root path, loads the index page. The register path, oh man, today my mouse is just, actually let me get my other mouse and see whether it's going to perform. So I don't know whether the issue is with the mouse or with the computer. No, I hope it's the mouse. Okay, I hope it performs better. So where are we were now we have the four different paths: the root path, the register path, the login path, and the dashboard. So the dashboard is supposed to load the index, I mean not the index but the dashboard page. All right, so that should give us actually, now that we're here, let me set up the next part of these, because now I can't really navigate unless I navigate manually. So yeah, let me use the manual navigation for now. So we're going to update these links. So in what we had earlier, because remember we moved from a plain HTML version of this, these links were just leading to the HTML version of the pages. That's not what we want. So we're going to go to the components, the header. We'll update those links. Instead of leading to the .html, they should just lead to that path. So to /login, to /register, to /dashboard. So now if I click on register, it takes me to the register page. If I click on login, it takes me to the login page. If I click on dashboard, it takes me to the dashboard. But something that you'll notice happening is that as I navigate through these different pages, there's a page refresh going on. Now React is a single page application library, and with the addition of this React router, we're not supposed to be seeing that going on. Navigating through different pages isn't supposed to trigger a page refresh. So the reason why it's doing that is because we are not taking advantage of React router. So our links have been created as just normal anchor elements. Now that's not supposed to be the case when it comes to navigation using React router. And so the way that it's supposed to be is right in the documentation. So if we go to documentation, after we have set up the route, so we will come back to these routes because there is something that we need to do with regards to mostly the layout. So the next thing is here, the layouts. So the next thing is, where is it? We'll come back to segments, linking right here. So we have two options. We have the link element and we have the nav link element. Now the difference between the two is that the nav link will just give you a callback function for you to take advantage of, so that you can have an active state, just to allow you to style things differently for when a link is active. Now, because of time, I'm not going to go into this. Actually, I can. Why not? It's not really going to take that long. So we can look at what we can do is we can just give this an underline. If a link is active, we just give it a different color. So we'll see. So I'm going to use the nav link instead of the link, but for links that you don't really need to style differently based on whether they are active. And let's commence there for a second. So for the here, for the links that that you don't really care for the active state, you just use the normal link element. But whenever you need to get access to the active state, then use a nav link. Since this is in the header, we're going to take advantage of that nav link and just add a quick active state. So instead of the A, and I'll just highlight these guys like that. So it's not navlink, it's navlink from React Router. So that's going to get imported, and it is not, or rather we need to close it. Like that. And the property that it gets is not href. So we need to change that from href to 2. So it's going to be 2, just like that. And for now, before we even deal with the active state, let's test them just to see that it actually works. Okay, I'm on the login. I go to register. Perfect. Now you can see there's a difference. The page is not going to refresh as I navigate through the different pages. So I go to login, I go to register. It is an instant switch without any kind of page refresh going on, and that is how it's supposed to be. So we're going to get that active state, and I'll just grab what exactly is in the documentation right here. Add it after the 2. How did I copy? Okay. Did I not copy the right thing? It's supposed to just work. It's not copying as I thought it will copy. So let me do it one by one. Paste it right there. And I don't know why it's not I didn't paste in every selection. So this active is going to be a class that will be applied. And if we inspect these elements right here, right now I'm on register. So we can see that the register currently has the class active applied on it because I am currently in the register endpoint, or rather route. If I go to login and we inspect now, the register no longer has the class of active. But if we check the link for the login, it has the class of active. So the way that you then style this is just creating a class of active. So we're going to, we have the class of nav. So we'll go to the index.css and right here .nav dot active will apply underline. So we can see just a very quick one. Now with the styling, you can do whatever it is that you want to do with regards to styling the links. But right now, if we go to register, register gets the active class applies the underline class, the Tailwind class. So it gets underlined. We go to login, that's the one that gets the underline because of the existence of that active class. Now it doesn't have to be active, you can change it, you can get it to be exactly what you'd want. Instead of active here, you can just directly add the underline class if that is the only thing that you're doing. If that is the only thing that you're doing when it comes to the styling of the route, but we'll leave it as active so that in case we need to update what the active state on the navbar is, we can just add the classes here and they will all be taken care of by that active class. All right, so that is navlink. So let's get back to these routes, because something that you'll notice happening is that, let's say if we go to the dashboard, it loses the header and the footer. So that's because the way that currently the pages are set up, the login page has this header and it has this footer. The register page has the header and it has the footer. Then the dashboard page doesn't have the header, it doesn't have the footer, it just has this. So if we wanted to get the dashboard page looking like the other pages, we'd have to bring in the header, then have here the content, then after the content we have the footer. Now this is a lot of repetition for something that is constant. There's a header and there's a footer in each and every one of these pages. Now it works. We get the header, we get the footer, we get the content right here, but it is a lot of repetition, right? So that is where these the routes come in. So the way that I'm looking for some in-depth I think this part of the documentation doesn't give the in-depth. Let's look at routing. under data, nope, this is most certainly not it. Yeah, but they do mention the outlet. Was there no outlet here? I think I saw outlet somewhere. Yeah, it is here. Don't know why I missed it. Okay, so over here we have see under nested routes, so there's this description, and I will leave you to go to the documentation and read more about the outlet. But ideally, you may have, you see, like how we're saying that the login page, the register page, the dashboard page, and even the index page, they all have something in common. They have the header, they have the footer. Header, footer. Header, footer. The only thing that changes for each of them is the actual content, and the actual content can either be another component, such as we have here, or just the actual page content can go right in there. Now this header and this footer are part of the layout of these pages. It is part of what those pages are, and it's constant for each and every one of them. So instead of repeating something that is going to be constant, the same for each and every one of those pages, what you do is you take advantage of layouts. Okay, and that is also handled through React Router. Now, what's a layout? So we'll create inside the default pages, inside the pages folder, we'll create the default layout .ts. Actually, instead of creating that, let's just go to the app. Remember we have the import of the app here. So this app, we can take advantage of it, right? And we nest all of our routes. See under nested routes, we have a parent route that encompasses other single routes, and that parent route, in this case the dashboard, can have an outlet. So this dashboard acts as our layout. Actually, the better explanation is under layout routes. So we create a route that encompasses other routes, and within the element that is going to be for that outer route, we give it an outlet. So the outlet, as the name might suggest, is where the things are going to be coming out from, if that makes sense. And what things are we talking about? The components, these components that are rendered by these two different routes that are nested within this layout route. So this is exactly what we're going to set up, and we're going to be using the app as our layout. So in the app, these things that we are repeating over and over, actually, you know what, let me go the route that I had taken of creating like the default layout. Instead of using the app component, it will still work the exact same with that. The component that you choose to use is not what's most important. It is how you set them up to act as the layout. So instead of using the app.jsx as our layout, let me create the default layout component. And this default layout component, it's a component, and so it's a function. So this is default layout. I prefer to use arrow components, arrow functions. So this will return some JSX. For now, let it return an empty string so that we can finish the setup. So we export default layout as a named export. So what we're going to do in this default layout is we're going to bring in the components that are part of the layout. In our case, that's the header, and that is the footer. So the header, and then at the very bottom, we have the footer. Then, remember, for all of our pages, what is constant? It is that the content of that particular page will be between the header and the footer. So that is where our default layout goes, or rather our outlet in the default layout goes. Outlet from React router. Now we're no longer going to add the dashboard components or the login form component or the register form component. It is going to be the outlet of the component that we are going to link to a certain route. Now, once you have this in the default layout, it means that you do not need, you should not, now that you do not need, you should not repeat it across the other components that you have. So for this is only going to return the word dashboard. Then we go to the index. That one can return just home page like that. Login no longer return the header and the footer. It will only return the login form. Register, same thing. But then if we leave it like that, right now we lose our navigation, we lose our header, we lose our footer, and that's across all of the pages. So if we go to login, there's no header, there's no footer, we've removed them. If we go to register, there's no header, there's no footer, there's just a form. So to bring them, we need to take advantage of it. We can remove the imports now because we no longer need them. Go to dashboard, remove those. Go to register login index. Okay. So since we have them here, that means we need then to take advantage of this default layout. And if we look at the documentation right here, it is just by nesting the routes that we have with this layout route. So where we have defined our routes over here, you just grab all of them, we cut them, we add the layout route, and this time it is not going to be a self-closing tag because it is nesting other routes. Then we just need to define the element associated with this route, which is the default layout element, like that. And once we save this file and we go back to our application, now we have our header, our footer, and it is going to be across all of our pages. So the register, the login, the dashboard, it is going to be in the index, although I didn't create any for this, so let me update it. So go to header. This I'll just use the link. Link from React router, and it's not href, it is to, and the value is not to index, it is just to the home page like that. So this is going to lead us to the index, which will load the home page. We have the login, we have the register, and we have the dashboard. So that is how you set up routes. And this is just the beginning. Okay, this is just the beginning of routes. If you look at the documentation, there is all of these other the route prefixes, the dynamic segments, optional segments, splats, linking we've seen. So since right now for this particular use case, we do not need the route prefixes, we don't need the dynamic segments for now, we do not need the optional segments, we're going to not implement them, okay? Because I want us to move now to the setting up the server, just so that we can have something running. But what we've done so far is crucial progress for the client side. We have a Tailwind based React application with routing. No, it's not complete. It is not complete by any sense, because there should be some logic here in such a way that this dashboard should not be visible for somebody who is not logged in. And once they have logged in, then the option to log in should not even be visible to them. So the logic for authentication, and that's what we're building, is that when somebody is already logged in, then there is absolutely no need to ask them to log in again. So you don't need to give them the option to log in. You give them the option to log out, and then once they are logged out, you do not give them the option to go to the dashboard. You give them the option to log in or to register. Okay, so that's logic that we're going to be implementing, but for that we need the backend. We need somebody to be able to register, and we need somebody to be able to log in. Now, there was already the running version of this backend. So the charityminds.onrender.com, it's open. None of these routes have, is there any secure route? No, they're all open routes. To start with, that is what we're going to be. Actually, let's just go straight into creating the server, because you have already set up the communication between your client and this particular endpoint. Let me open the docs. The endpoints were this /API/v1, then auth register, auth login. Yeah, let me, before we get into building the actual API, let me just hook this application that we have here to this existing API. So there was this endpoint. Is it API/v1/users? Let me duplicate. So this endpoint is supposed to give you back the list of users that have registered in this application. taking its sweet time to load. It's actually not loading. Error 503. Don't know whether that's an issue with the server. Maybe that one endpoint. Seems to be an issue with the endpoint. I need to check the code of these this server. It's not supposed to be having any issues. It's a very simple endpoint. Let me check the database. It still exists. Which one is it? Let me get into render. It's not this account that's that's weird. I have no idea which account I used to deploy this. So I can't check what's configured. I think this is the one that was deployed. I think so. I'm not 100% sure. Oh yeah, the one with the docs. Maybe it's this one, let me see. This is slash docs here. Yeah, it's this one. Charity Minds backend. Yes, it's a very simple, very simple endpoint. It literally just grabs all the users from the database and returns them. So why it's failing, I have no idea. It could be a database connection issue, actually. Yeah, it could be a database connection issue. So let me redeploy it. Web service, this is charity minds backend. Charity minds backend. Node main root directory, that's okay. npm install. What's the okay. Node src server.js. Node src server.js. The free version. Now environment variables. This is where it gets interesting. I hope I have where I do. I'll copy all of this, paste them. So node environment, this is production, MongoDB URI. I get it from MongoDB compass, copy connection string. Then this is charity minds backend, auth cookie name, auth JWT secret, just some random characters. All right, then we deploy. So let's give it a minute. To build. Since this is not TypeScript, it doesn't have a very heavy build process. Actually, it's just the thing that might take time is just the internals of render, configuring the domain, everything. So as it does that, I think the status will change over here. We'll see it when it's green. So the link is charity minds backend on render.com. So I think the other one is failing because of the connection string. That's the only thing I can think of that could be causing a failure. I deployed it a while back, I think last year, November. November, thereabout. So I can't even remember on which Render account I deployed it in. That's okay. Let this one finish. And then we test it. So the idea is to connect this application, this registration form to this app, to this backend, before we then create a backend that is similar to this. Okay, so database connected successfully. That's a good sign. Let's open that. Application loading. Yeah, there's the disadvantage of render. Sometimes it just takes its sweet time to get everything going. Right, so this is now loading. So if we go to the problem is there's going to be no users because this is a new endpoint, but we get this return, so that's a good sign. There's no data, yes, but there's no error, so that means the connection is successful. Everything should be okay. So what I can do, I can use Postman in the meantime to just send one request to this endpoint and is this the one? So it needs, this is a bit different. So I'll create a new. So Nadi, you'd mentioned the use of Postman. So with Postman, I think the most important thing is understanding where things are. Okay, let me not close things. I don't know what's in all of these tabs. I can close the ones that are not. Yeah. So back to Postman, we have this new collection option over here. So if you want a collection, just it's grouping. So you can have variables in a certain collection, variables that you can reuse. Let's say this particular URL, you want it stored in a variable so that if, let's say, you update it later on or use a different port, you don't have to go to every request to change it. You just need to update the value of the variable. So I'm going to create a new collection here, blank collection, just for this group, and I'll call this array. So inside array, we're going to have a new folder, and this folder is going to be now all the requests for this particular application. So this is Auth, and there are different kinds of requests, and we'll just get the plus, click the plus to add a new request, and this is the plus next to that folder name. This is by default going to create a request called new request, and the default selected method is get. So we want a post because we're going to be sending an endpoint, or rather a request, to the register endpoint, and that one expects, based on the documentation, this is not, I'm not guessing this, you will always have to look through the documentation of a certain endpoint in order to this is one of the things I'm supposed to change in the endpoints. I don't remember. Let me see. So we go to docs, spec, base URL. Okay. The node server base URL. So we set the base URL, send environment, edit, add new variable, base underscore URL. The value is that. We save, rebuild, and deploy. So that should update the documentation from having this to having that URL, this one right here. That's once it completes the build. So the documentations will always tell you these things. They will tell you the method that is going to be required by a certain, so the method that is going to be required by a certain endpoint, and the data that you're supposed to send along with that request, and what to expect as a response. Once you have those things, you are good to work with that API. You know where to send it, you know the method to send it in, you know the data, the body data that it requires, and you know what to expect as a response. Now the response, that one you don't even need to be given. You can inspect the response. The response will just be there within Postman. You can look at it, but this one has to be documented. For every API that exists, you must it must tell you. The documentations must inform you the method, the endpoint, and the required body data. So in our case, we are sending a post, so we can see it's a post method to the URL to this endpoint. Now this is just the endpoint, it does not include the base URL. The base URL is that one that I've just made an update to. If I refresh, I don't know that it's picked, it has. So this is the base URL. So I'll just copy it from up here. That is what I'm going to set right here. And the endpoint is /API /v1/auth/register. So it will be to /API /v1/auth/register. It's a post request, and it expects some request body data. So I know this is similar to one of the others, so I'll just copy, I don't know from where, from here, not there, here. So back to now the auth. This one, first of all, I'll call it register because that's that is what the endpoint is. I'll just quickly save it so that it can update over here. Then for the body data, there's this body right here. So body, it will by default be set to none. We want to go to raw, and then the kind of body that we're sending is JSON. So JSON will be selected. In case it's not selected, in case something else is selected, then select JSON. Then I will just paste that as the starting point for our data. And I know it requires first name, last name, username, first name, last name, username, email, phone, DOB, email, phone. We are missing the DOB, so we're going to add the DOB. Let me actually just have them in order, in the order that's there in the documentation. They don't have to be. It is not a requirement, just easier for following. So email, phone, DOB, email, phone, DOB, that's date of birth. Can use that. What is this? Yeah, that's in the, okay, that's okay. Then email, phone, DOB, gender. It's after gender, female, then password and confirm password. So I'll just this is Mary 1234. Now you can see the documentation states that all of these are required or required strings. Password and confirm password must match, and email must pass a basic regex check. So documentations will give you that information. So the moment we send this, because that is all that is required for us to send, there's something else. So in the headers, see the ones that are hidden. There's this content type, application JSON. Now, the moment we went to the body and we changed it from none to raw and changed it to JSON, that one automatically set the header. And you're writing code, you have to set it yourself. You have to set the header. So that's just something to have in mind. Postman will automatically take care of that, setting that required header. But when you're doing it with code, you have to manually do it. So once you send this, if everything is okay, you should get back a response of 201 created, and you can see that that is what the documentation states as a successful response, 201 created. And it gives you an example of the data that is returned, which in this case is the data of the user that we've just created. That was called Mary Watson, with that username, with that email, with that phone number, with that date of birth, that gender, and they have now an ID. This ID is very crucial because it is a unique identifier for this person, for this entity that has just been created in our database. And if we inspect our database, we come here to this is called MongoDB Compass. So once we get to the part of working with the database, what's going on? Okay, so we look through our users and we see Mary Watson. Now, if we go to that endpoint for users, this one right here, which requires a GET request. If we go to it now, for GET requests, you can just go straight on the browser. You don't have to send them through Postman. But you cannot send a post request straight through the browser unless you're using some extension. IPOA/v1/users should be accessible, and it should give us back as part of the data the details of the user that we have just registered right now. And there is that data. So the ID, the first name, the last name, username, email, phone, date of birth, gender, created at end, and updated at. So this is how you'd send the request with Postman, and we are essentially going to set up the exact same request to be sent, but now not through Postman. Postman is our client for simulating requests, but we're building this client, the application, that will send the exact same data: first name, last name, username, email, phone number, date of birth, gender, password, confirm password. When this button is clicked, a similar thing to what has just happened with Postman, which is taking this data, sending it as a post request to this endpoint, should happen, but now it should happen programmatically through code that we have written. It is almost 11. It's 10:47, and I'd like to go a bit further today in today's session. Perhaps get all the way to setting up the server, but I don't think it is going to be possible. So allow me to end today's session here, having gone through the client setup for the Auth, having gone through the routing setup, having gone through sending a request with Postman to an existing API, so the one that we've just deployed here. Then tomorrow we shall pick up. Tomorrow we're going to do the connection of this. We shall connect it to this existing API. So we'll just go direct into this. Tomorrow I'll do my best to start the session at 8. We go straight into connecting this to the API. We set up the dashboard to show the list of the users that exist so that we don't have to keep coming to this particular endpoint. We query this data from this endpoint. We display it in the dashboard. We also show some statistics. So remember, I believe the last time we spoke, I gave you the task to go and create some statistics. Like you could give statistics of how many users exist, how many are male, how many are female. So you could group them according to gender. If you have country, well, you don't have country because this particular endpoint only has this data, but you could just find a way to come up with statistics from this data. But the most key one being how many users have registered in your system. So we shall set that up tomorrow. Then tomorrow as well, we shall set up now the folder structure. We shall create a basic server. That basic server will have, we'll see what how a basic server looks. Then we shall start by just creating a single file. Now remember, we always say that JavaScript code can all be written in one file and it will work just okay. All right. We normally separate things for organization, because if you were to write an entire server in just one file, it's going to work, but it's going to be hectic. So for the basic server with its different routes, we're going to do all of it in one file. Then we shall split them into their respective modules. And then, so that will be part of the setup process, so that you see, instead of going straight to the complete thing, instead of going straight to how it's supposed to be, you see where we come from, so that you can appreciate the complete thing, right? When you see the code in one file and you also see it when it's been split, you get to understand better the splitting and its purpose. So that's what we're going to do. So in tomorrow's session, we shall be ready to go from like 8 till 11, till around this time. I'm not 100% sure. Let me not commit to going past 11, because by the time I get here, I haven't sorted supper. I still need to sleep because I have work tomorrow at 9. So committing to past 11 might not be possible for all sessions. Now, sometimes it might, but that's not a commitment that I'm going to make. But up to 11, that I can commit. So it's possible. So tomorrow, leave early as I can, the office. Hopefully be here by 8. We start at 8. Do 3 hours. 3 hours should be enough for us to cover those things. So for now, you have something to go over. If you hadn't set up the layouts with the different routes, go ahead and set them up. If you had not configured the navigation to have an active state, go ahead and do that. If you're still using the anchor tag, it will still work, but then it's what you have is not a single page application. Single page applications don't reload on navigation, so make sure you set them up to use what React Router gives you. Then what else? Now you have this new URL. Let me send it in the group. So in case the other one still doesn't work, you can use this one. So I've shared it in your group. So use that one instead of the other one, if the other one is still giving an issue. I'm currently not able to fix the other because I don't even know which render account I used for that, but this one should work perfectly now. Then any other thing? No, I think that's it. So I hope you're still continuing with that video that I shared. It's a very crucial one. It will help with having the prerequisite knowledge of what we're going to do tomorrow. So in case you're still going through it, you have the day tomorrow to go through it. We shall pick up from there. Are there any questions, Nadi, Brian?
No, actually, nah, I was just following up from what I tried to do before.
Sorry, it's no questions.
Yeah, maybe we will try the other link since this one, the first one that you had given us, it was
It was giving you that error, that 503 error.
yeah,
No, okay.
yeah.
So this new one should work. Should be able to test your current applications with it. So you'll just need to.
Right.
Now, let me not tell you what you'll need to do. I'm sure you'll figure that part out. Because of the new URL, I'm sure you'll need what you need to do about it.
It's okay.
No, it's right. Nadi, any question from you?
Not really. I think I'm content. Okay, not content, but niko sawa.
No question.
Yeah.
No, it's right. So we shall pick up from there and build connect the application and build the server in tomorrow's session. All right. Enjoy your nights. Talk to you guys tomorrow.